This is a portion of a chapter from the book entitled The Life and Teachings of the Masters of the Far East. It is a description of the universe. The universe is the sum total of all things visible and invisible that fill infinite space. The universe is the great whole, composed of all its parts. It might be said that the universe is another name for God, for he identified himself as I am that I am, and beside me there is no other. It is the sum of all life, all substance, all intelligence, all power. In it is contained all knowledge, for it is omnipotent. It is the sum of all power, for it is omnipotence. It is the sum of all substance, all intelligence, all power. It is the sum of all substance, for out of it are all visible things formed. It is all love, for it is bound together in a single system and operates as a single unit. Love is the integrity principle of the binding principle, which maintains the universe as a unity and keeps all of its operations moving in perfect harmony and regularity. The masters think of the universe as the universality of all things, with every condition and circumstance a portion of that universe or universality. A person may become separate, or he may separate himself in thought from the universe. Then he becomes a unit, which in thought only is separate or apart. But instead of being a part, he is still a part of the great universe. One may become so separated in thought from that great universality that he surrounds himself with apartness, or the sense of limitation. He may withdraw so far from that universality in thought that he falls or descends in his capacities, and thus he is in a measure separated from that universality in which he really belongs. Of course, it is impossible to separate oneself or completely exclude oneself from that universality, for that would be to reduce himself completely to a state of non-existence. But when he returns to that universality of principle in consciousness, he is one with it and is lifted up into a higher state of capability. That is illustrated in the parable of the prodigal son. He wandered in many lands and spent his substance, but there was a welcome in the Father's house upon his return. Even the brother who stayed at home was jealous of the reception, but the Father knew that the reception was always there. It is an allegorical picture of how one can extensively separate himself from universality by thought and recognize that he is feeding on the husk, and yet when he decided to return to the Father's house, there is everything there for him. In fact, the Father was not even conscious of the separation. It did not matter how far away the son had wandered. All sense of apartness, isolation, limitation is only fictitious, for it is impossible for separation to be an actual fact. If it were possible, the universe could not be a whole. David illustrated this fact in his realization that it was impossible to get out of the universal system when he said, "Whither shall I flee from thy spirit?" and whether he went to the uttermost bounds of the earth, ascended into heaven, or made his bed in hell, that same universal relationship awaited him. You cannot divide the indivisible. It is the same when death occurs. Many feel that there is a separation there, but in reality, there is no such thing. We can be just as close to those that we feel have departed as we were in what we think of as this life. It is only the separation in our conscious thought, in what we call the superconscious. There is no separation whatsoever. If we would let go of that thought of separation, there would be no evidence of separation, for it exists only in consciousness. It might be more truly stated that separation exists only in unconsciousness. It is only when one is unconscious of the true state of being. Separation is only an appearance, for in reality there could be no such thing. If the universe is a single unit and all things within it are eternally united into a single system, how and where could any separation exist? In fact, it could be only an imagined state. Ignorance of the facts is the only kind of separation that can exist, and illumination would completely eliminate that. Behold, our God is one, say the Scriptures. And if God is the Great One, all things and all people are included within him. And being included within him, they are one in and with him. Our being is a complete universe in itself, and it acts in perfect harmony if we let go of every thought of inharmony.